All right, welcome to today's podcast. I am so excited as always for our guests, and I feel like selfishly I'm the person that learns the most because I get all these superstars that are on these trainings, and I'm the one that's taking crazy notes and I'm absorbing all their information. I've had the great privilege of traveling and speaking in 15 plus countries the last couple of years, and one of the recent leaders that we knew each other online but had never met. And so I had heard all these rumors that she's so good, she's so charismatic, she's so fun, she's down to earth, like all these things. And usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And this was good smoke and good fire. And I got to meet our guest that I'm about to introduce here, Katie Harbison, at an event that I was emceeing. And so I got to chat with her and get to know her a little bit better in person the day before the event, at the event. And I'll say, Katie, the thing that really stood out the most to me was, despite, and I'll list all the incredible accolades that you have. I know for you, sometimes you're like, no, I don't need to. But the thing that really stood out to me is she requested that I didn't recognize some of her accolades when I was introducing her. And she said, can you please make sure that everything is recognizing what we've done as a team? She's like, I don't want you to recognize me as this number of earner or anything like that. And I just thought that was commendable, because in a world where it's me, a lot of people become the me monsters. The fact that, you wanted to focus on the team speaks volumes. So we're going to get into these accolades, but first, Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit, give us the short background, and then I'm going to give the accolades after, just so people can hear you and hear your voice, because I know they want to hear your voice. Like, tell us how long you've been in network marketing. Give us what's the 2-minute just recap of who is Katie? What's Katie about?
Sure. Well, it is truly an honor. It was an honor to meet you, and it was definitely an honor to be asked to be here with you today. So I started in network marketing about 4 years ago. We're a military family and we had 3 small kids. And I realized that I had lost a huge part of my identity, as many of your listeners can probably relate to. And I just started to feel like accomplishment was something that always drove me, and that I was kind of lacking in that. Not that I wasn't proud of raising my kids, but I felt like I didn't have anything measurable. And so I looked into the world of network marketing, and I had very little experience with what that meant or what it looked like. But I saw what some of the women, I was in a female driven, company at the time, what they had been able to do while still being home with their children. And I was really impressed. And between my husband's, military travel schedule, my kids being little, we have 1 child with many exceptionalities who requires full-time nursing care. It sounded like a good fit. So I set up shop in my garage and got to work. And, fast forward 4 years to where we are now. You could have never, told me that a couple of years ago in any way that I would have believed you, what that journey could have looked like or where it would have brought us today. So my story is a long one. Rob knows all about, I was a teen mom, etc. But, I look back on all of that, and even the toughest parts brought me to these incredible experiences and relationships. And I'm forever grateful to this industry. And, hopefully we can give you some good nuggets of wisdom and value here today.
Teen mom, special needs mom, military wife. I mean, that's like, I think a lot of, seriously, I think about it, and I think a lot of the reasons why people think that they can't have success, they don't realize that that's the reasons why they can have success.
Yeah, and something I hear all the time is that I don't have time. And I had no more time, money, or resources than anybody else. I just really wanted to make this happen, and I was going to do whatever it took. But I've shifted my own mindset, and I know this is a quote that's out there that everyone, or many of you have probably heard, but I try now to say, instead of I don't have time, that's not a priority for me. And that's helped me a lot, because if it's personal or self-care, and you're saying it's not a priority to me, that should shake you a little bit and say, whoa, So I've tried to shift that verbiage in my own life. So now I say if something is or isn't a priority to me rather than if I have time for it or not. And that's helped my team as well, I believe.
I love it. And that's why I always say, I know it's cliche. Cliches are cliches for a reason because they're timeless principles, but your mess is your message. Your struggle can become your story, right? Because a lot of times people say your struggle is your story. It can become the most powerful part of your story. But the key is finding solutions as you go. And I think just too many of us, we've got those limiting beliefs and we're so fixated on the problem that the problem becomes greatly exaggerated rather than focusing on the solution. Now we're going to get into in just a little bit. I've got a question for you and I'm going to allude to this so that people know, right? This is just something you're going to want to pay attention to, but you talk about how being organized builds confidence. And so in a little bit, I want you to talk more on what that means. And then I want to get into your recruiting style. And you're all going to want to hear exactly why we're getting into this. But Katie's been in the profession. I still am not sure if I'm supposed to call it profession or industry even after 12 years. So you may see me go back and forth, and that's okay. Just go with it. But she's been part of the industry / profession for 4 years. She's been with her current company for 2.5 years. Her team in the last 2 years has done over $110 million in sales. And this year, her team is on track to do over $100 million in sales. I mean, that's more than the majority of companies and what they do. And that's already within 2.5 years. I wanted to recognize her for how much she makes. She said, no, you're not allowed to do that. I wanted to recognize her for where she's at. As far as the company goes, she says, no, you're not allowed to do that. So at least I got that out of her so you guys can all listen, because it's a lot of credibility. I mean, someone can say something that sounds really good, but when we know someone's done something and then they share after what they did, how they did it, then it makes a ton more sense. And so you may want to pause this podcast several times. You may want to take some notes. You may want to figure out what those aha moments. But let's start out with that whole thing, because we just did talk about time and how, these days, isn't that cliche? Like, how
Right.
you doing? Everyone's like, I'm so busy. Also,
I'm so busy.
Right? It's like, yeah, are you busy watching those 3 Netflix binges that you just told me that you finished, right? Are you busy with whatever? We're all busy. That's what it is. So being organized builds confidence. Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you for that, overview. And I think it's funny because going back to the world of network marketing, how many times are we made to feel like what we do is silly? I mean, those numbers are insane numbers. Like, if you take yourself out of it, I have to take myself out of it sometimes and look from a third party, and I'm like, holy smokes, I know Lamborghini dealerships that don't do, $9 million a month. That's wild. And so when you put it into perspective, the confidence piece, it comes, for me, I think about, I encourage my team to make a list of all the things that make them feel confident, because I think that's important. We should expand upon the things that we feel confident in and that we feel good about sharing with other people. And sometimes the answers are as simple as, I feel confident when I put makeup on in the morning. And I feel confident when, I have a great outfit. Sometimes it's things like that. Sometimes it's, I feel confident when I have a stellar PowerPoint presentation that I've created, or I feel confident when my branding is looking on point. But when I look at these lists that my team members have made over time, all of those points go back to being prepared, in my opinion, because, if you wake up late and you can't put your makeup on, or you can't pick your cute outfit, then if that's a source of confidence for you, then you're going into the day already feeling a step behind. And then the same with the presentation. If you're last minute trying to whip something together, which we are all guilty of, to be clear, we're all guilty of, but how much more, confident do you feel when not only do you have it together, you've practiced it, you've done it in front of a small audience, even if it's your kids, you've practiced it before. That has really helped me to recognize where my confidence lies. And that feeling of being frazzled is not cute when you're about to step onto stage and speak to thousands of people, or even if you're just going to do a live for your team and you want to really feel like you're pouring into them and giving them value. I mean, I feel like our teams and our relationships deserve the very best of us. And the only way to do that is to not only take care of ourselves and the things that allow us to give the best of ourselves, but to be ultra prepared for, you know, hopefully the impact that you're trying to make. So for me, everything on my confidence list comes down to how lazy am I being? How prepared am I? How much of a priority have I made it? Because again, time is of the essence. And if something isn't, you don't have time for it, we haven't made it a priority, most likely. But we can all make, you know, binge watching The Office a priority when we need, which is fine when you need a little self-care and that's what you want to do. But for me, the confidence piece is, and I can tell you times where I did not feel confident. And it always came back to lack of preparation and lack of leaving myself enough time to do the work.
I love that. It's priority, it's value. I mean, we're not making any guarantees with anything. I mean, of course, like building a huge team, it takes a lot of hard work and effort, and there's a lot of things that go into it. But when we look at it specifically, I remember when I started out in the network marketing profession. When I started out, I remember I didn't watch 1 second of TV for about 6 total, as I look at it, 6 months, not 1 second of TV. And that's crazy. That at that time, it was 2008. That's when Michael Phelps was going through his epic Olympics. That's when Roger Federer, I'm a tennis fan, and Rafael Nadal were playing in Wimbledon with one of the greatest matches of all time. Yes, I have since watched it, but I was so laser focused because I had priorities. And so it's all about value. Now, again, I can't make guarantees, but if I were to tell you, and you can fill in the blank with whatever number sounds good to you, but if I were to tell you that after 6 months, you would make X amount, tell me what number's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would do it. You would say, okay, that's worth it. Okay, I can create this residual type income. Okay, I can. You would 100% say it's worth it. Of course, I can't guarantee that. And of course, I think fear of the unknown becomes a huge thing. That's actually one of, in my book, The Game of Conquering, that's one of the 5 fears I talk about, is the fear of the unknown. Because yeah, if you knew, that's why people are okay becoming doctors, because even though they're going to do 12 plus years of school, they know. And yes, even though they've got debt to pay off for another, whatever, 10 years, they know. And if you knew that you could be part of network marketing, and after whatever is a good number to you, some's going to be a lot higher after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, that you could achieve, right, whatever it is, you'd be okay. But the fear of the unknown sets in. And so now it becomes, right, I'm not sure if I can do this. I'm not sure if it's worth it. So you have had phenomenal results with recruiting, with creating that recruiting, which is duplication amongst your teams, becoming that leader of leaders with your teams and empowering leaders. I love how you help and support your teams, but you don't micromanage. And that's what I consider one of the biggest, most important aspects of becoming a leader of leaders. But as far as recruiting goes, talk to us a little bit about your style and maybe even some of the techniques, because I know there's 3 R's for you that really go with it. So tell us some.
Yeah, the system works for me, and it's easily tweaked for other people. It's not going to be perfect for everyone. But again, like going with what you just said about if I told you you could do this, when you talk about team building or recruiting, there are so many fears and so many, objections. And one is that it's not going to be around forever. And I think about what you just said, and this is my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. But if you told me I could make XYZ amount for 24 months and then it would go away, would you still make the money for 24 months or would you walk away? I mean, for me, you're building so much during that time that then hopefully you could translate into your next move. And hopefully, and again, I don't look at, say, a company like mine. There's no situation where I think we're going anywhere. But the point is, if that's an objection that someone has when you're going to team build or recruit, we have to validate that and respect that. So My system is a little more laid back because I'm not a hey girl recruiter by any means. If you're in this
Tell us,
world,
is hey girl like, hey girl, I
hey,
thought
it's
you
it's
seriously
like
were
a
so
random,
amazing, even though I've never spoken to you before.
yes.
But I saw your profile. You'd be so awesome.
Yeah, it's always someone you've never had any connection with before. And it's always like, hey girl, can you benefit me? That's a hey girl message. It's, hey girl, do you want to buy my product? Do you want to join my team? Do you want to come to my opportunity meeting? It's never about the person that they're reaching out to. It's always, how can you help me? And that's why,
You're so amazing. I've never met you before, but
yeah,
you're so
you
good.
would crush this. I have no idea where you're at in your current company, if you're happy, but whatever you're doing, you know, it doesn't matter because you would be really great at what I'm doing. Like literally, you know nothing about my special skills. No, nunchuck skills, whatever, like nothing. They know nothing. They just want. So for me, I developed like a system that I think is easy, and it doesn't work for everybody because some of my team members are really bold and they are like laser ninja recruiters, and that wasn't really my style. So take it, you know, take what you like and leave the rest. But for me, I always start with the first R of rapport. And I think that's a lot less scary when we teach our teams to go out into the world and not, you know, because we hear so many times, sell 10 products a day or recruit one person a day or whatever it is, whatever those goals are. It's super intimidating and not everyone lives their life that way. So I encourage my team to go out into the world and build rapport first, and like just be a decent person. Just find something that you can connect with people, whether it's you both have a puppy or, you know, you're both entrepreneurs of some sort, or you both have, you know, kids in preschool, whatever it is, just have a basic human connection with people first before anything else, because you know, they're if you do it right, they're going to find out what you do and they're going to have questions over time. But if we go in first, I mean, you are outcasting a huge portion of the population that you're speaking to if you go in with, you know, especially if you're in network marketing or, you know, industry, because people don't understand it. It is a fear of the unknown. They think, oh, is it this thing I heard about on TV? Oh, is it like this company that existed in the dark ages? No, it's not like that anymore. But if you go in hot, they're gonna be nervous. So when I ask my team to go out and simply build rapport, that's something they feel good about. They're like, okay, I can do that. Like I can talk to the barista at Starbucks. I can talk to the cashier at Target. Like I can do that. So that's thing number one.
Real quick on that, I have a couple of questions because you and I have very similar styles. So I'm 100% in agreement. And so I want to give the people that are not and throw out a question to you, because I know what my take is when people say, well, I hate chit chat. Number one, and I'm always like, be a real freaking human being. Like, it's not that hard. It's not, chit chat is like fake. And why can you not be genuine? The second part to that is when people think that rapport is not duplicatable and takes a long time to build. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are you a human being? But I want to hear your take on that, because I think a lot of times, now, of course, there are people that overdo it and they're like, Katie, I've spoken to this person now for 3 years. We are besties. We've been on 3 trips together. Do you think I can approach them? Now, Katie's not teaching that. I'm not teaching that. So don't overdo it. I think more than like 3+ conversations, then we can start overdoing it, where I like to say we get stuck in the friend zone and it becomes a little awkward now, right? So I get that, but I don't care if it's, you know, first conversation it happens. Sometimes rapport happens quick, sometimes third conversation, whatever. I don't really care. But I want to hear from you when someone talks about like chit chat or rapport taking too long or any of that, what your personality, your style is, what you would say.
Yeah. So my opinion, again, is that more people are like you than not like you.
And it's just $9 million team volume opinion. No big deal. Go ahead.
They, you know, and again, that's a product of a lot of rapport. When I came into my company, I did not bring a team with me. That did not happen. That's not how I built, but I feel like I brought really good rapport because I was willing to help. Rapport can mean, to answer your question, it can mean going above and beyond to help someone that you don't benefit from. That's basic human kindness or human courtesy. We overthink rapport a lot because if you think rapport is chit chat, that's kind of a closed-minded approach. Sorry to be the one to have to tell you that. But, to me, again, more people are like you than not like you, and they just want to know you on some level. I mean, that's a general statement. Does that mean you have to be besties with every person? Of course not. It just means find some way to connect with them. And it can be super simple. Kindness is the best way to build rapport, if you ask me. Whether it's, just genuinely seeing someone in front of you and paying for their coffee, or it's, helping someone when they drop something on the floor. Like we overthink it, that it has to be this dramatic thing.
Or give a book to someone.
Give a book to someone because, you spoke the same language for a couple of minutes or whatever. And that feels good to feel recognized or thought of. So that's the whole point behind rapport, is that you're thinking of someone outside of yourself and outside of what benefits you. And now I know that kind of sounds counterintuitive because the ultimate goal is to build a business, which does benefit you, but you don't have to be so hungry, greedy all the time. You can be hungry and just be kind. And no, do we want this business to come back around to us? Of course we do. But if it doesn't, we're still putting goodness out into the world. We feel really good about that. So, it's striking up common conversation. It's not necessarily, listen, you don't have to get to know their whole story to build rapport. You don't have to be like, okay, so where'd you grow up? What was your first kiss? Like, calm down, but just speak to them. Again, speak human, speak the language of human. Every human being has the ability to connect with one another. You have something in common with everyone. I really believe that. And if you aren't willing to find out what that is, you're already putting a gigantic roadblock between you and your success.
I love that. Super simple, super important. It doesn't take that long. It's just being a real human being, and it makes a difference. And again, some of you are different. Like Katie said, great. Do the business. I always say, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I always say your approach should be how you would want to be approached. Now, some people are like, shouldn't it be how they want to be approached? How do you know how they want to be approached? You don't. So the best way to be the bold version of you authentically is to approach people how you want to be approached, because people are going to judge you because you approached them too soon. People are going to judge you because you took too long to approach. They're going to judge you no matter what. So the way you're going to feel the best is by approaching people how you would want to be approached.
You'll never do it perfectly because there's no such thing. But I always go back when my team, something that you and I see a lot is people saying no for people, like saying, oh, well, she's already successful enough, or she's already too busy, or he already has a good thing going. And I think back and I remind them, every single one of us was recruited. At one point, we were all recruited. And, for me, I remember that. And I think saying no for someone is taking an opportunity away from them. And if you are a decent, well-spoken, somewhat educated person, and you researched what you're doing and you said yes to an opportunity, then why are you downplaying that to somebody else? Why are you thinking, oh, well, they're going to think that's dumb? Well, I'm sorry, you're not an idiot. So why would you think that they would think this is, you researched, you made a conscious decision to do this. You're not an idiot. So why wouldn't somebody else at least be willing to look into what you're doing?
Love it. All right. I want to hear the rest. This is just the intro. This is good stuff.
Number two, we're long-winded when we're together, aren't we? So number two is relationship. And again, that's where rapport can kind of take two roads, because you're not going to build a relationship with everyone you build rapport with. It's just, that would be weird and probably inappropriate. So, there's kind of two paths, and you're going to, by default, start to feel, again, with rapport, there does need to be some method of follow-up. So whether it's exchanging business cards, if you're in a professional setting, or if you're handing out samples, if you're in that type of business and you have a way that you say, hey, I just want to simply be able to follow up and see what you thought. There does need to be some way to follow up with people, because it's really hard to develop a relationship with someone you're never going to see again. So follow up is important in there. But then with the relationship piece, it's not thinking about how this person can benefit you today, or even at all. It's getting to know someone and realizing that while those of us who are introverted don't have hundreds and hundreds of friends by choice, you can still build really quality relationships within your business life and your personal life, and you don't have to be besties. It's possible. I promise you. So the relationship piece really dives into more of getting to know that person, so that not only can you understand what their goals and priorities are, but you can see what their life is already like, if there are holes that you could fill, because network marketing was designed to provide a solution for people. And until you know what problem they have that you could provide a solution for, then you're just being greedy. You just are. And again, that's kind of the nature of the beast, but you're talking about a whole concern of retention, because I can get a lot of people to buy a kit. I can't get them to keep going or show up every day and work their business. So that kind of comes into, and again, once they join, that's a whole coaching conversation of what their goals are and how, we can best help serve those goals. But before you go in with, hey, you should consider doing what I'm doing, that relationship piece allows you to get to know, okay, when could they meet, or how could they shift to fit this into their life? Where are they already going? Are they going to the gym every day, where you could say, hey, keeping those samples in your gym bag or whatever. You can't just tell people, or you can, but it doesn't work that well, that they should do it too. You should be able to help them see how it could fit into their life and how it could solve a problem that they already have.
I love it. Questions are the answers. And too many times we forget, and we jump to conclusions because of our own insecurities, and we stop asking questions, and we assume, which is the number one problem with miscommunication. So that's incredible. Okay, the third R, I hope you're all pausing, taking notes, absorbing. I always say, if you've listened to me before, I always say, find one thing that you can execute, one thing that you can implement. And I always say, create a separate journal or a place you take notes that you always take. There's good notes, but then there's the executables, and you take that, you prioritize and reprioritize, because we don't want to be the action fakers. We want to be the action takers. You don't want to become
Right.
know-it-alls, right?
Yep.
And we do nothing, you know nothing.
And we sometimes call this the anti-spam method, because, nobody likes to feel like they're being sold to or recruited. I mean, it's just a yucky feeling. So the third R is a referral. And I love this because, again, it takes a lot of pressure off. And when I am talking to someone about the business, this is the only time I'm quote unquote selfish, when I'm trying to share the opportunity with them, because I don't want to put pressure on that person that you should be doing this and this is how you could do it. I like to say, this is why it was a no-brainer for me. And I talk about my own life. And again, they might not have the same life or the same goals as me, but they can relate to how I was feeling and how I was able to add that into my life. Not everyone is driven by money. You guys, that is a strong reality. I know we all want to make money and that business is important and that's the goal of business ultimately, but I cannot tell you the amount of people with different personality types than me who have come in and just wanted friendship or community, or just wanted, to pay the karate bill or whatever it is. So don't assume that everyone is here just to make loads and loads of money, although, maybe their goals will shift over time. So the referral piece is great because I think the referral-based system is the greatest, longest standing system in the world. It's kind of goes back to barter system in a way as well. And when I talk about why this was a no-brainer for me, and I talk about what my family was experiencing, when someone gives me objections, I think about how I had similar objections, because no matter what their objection is, if you're in network marketing, you've probably had a similar objection before you started or when you very first started. So if it's, well, I just really don't think I have the time. We'll use that one because it's easy. I would say, when I started, this is what I was doing, and I really didn't feel the same way. But what I found was that I was making XYZ a priority in my day, and it was taking up a lot of my time that wasn't really productive. And so I was able to shift. So I give them examples of how I was able to combat that same objection in my own life. And so referral is great because it takes pressure. Again, if this isn't your recruiting style, it might be great for some of your team members, because if they're not as ninja laser recruiter as you are, they might need a softer approach. And when you talk about referrals, I can't tell you how many times I've had literally built relationships with people, not knowing where it was going to go, come to find out this just simply isn't the right fit for them. But without me even asking, they've gone on to refer countless people, either for my products or to join my team, because they not only trust that I'm going to take good care of their people, they feel like I'm credible, that I'm not going to just be a sleazeball. They know how I did things with them, and that at no point was I like, you really need to do this. And there's a time and a place to say that in your relationship if you really feel like that's true. But if it's not a good fit for someone, why would I want them to join and then later resent me because they felt like I pressed them to do something that wasn't good for them? So ask for referrals. It's okay to ask. It's also even better when you don't have to. And sometimes when you build a great relationship with people, people say all the time, you might not want to do what she does, but at least go talk to her because she's going to help you. Like literally people will say she'll help you. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a broad statement, but let's go. I'm up for the challenge. So be willing to go open-minded into every relationship and know that every single person that you meet knows someone that you don't. Every single person. They all know people that you don't know. And the only way you're going to gain access to those people, like we are all particular about our lists, like our people that we love and respect and admire. And we don't want to share that list out to anyone who's going to prey on them, period. We just don't. That doesn't feel good. It's not an accurate representation of how we would treat our friends. And we don't want anyone else treating them that way either. So you are not going to get that referral until that rapport and relationship are completely intact and people feel that when their friend Sally calls you, they know exactly how you're going to treat her. And so it is kind of the culmination. And then more often than not, that person does end up wanting to join themselves, the person that you built a relationship with. But I think asking for a referral as a worst case scenario is a great place to be. And again, that one person, they might know 10 that would be a great fit for you. And if you even were to close, 5 of them, that's really, really good. So that's kind of my perspective on things. And again, I have team members who don't need to go that route because they are laser ninjas. But for me as an introvert and not in kind of like a recovering people pleaser, like I don't like people to feel like I'm pressuring them. I don't like people to feel like I'm confrontational or making them uncomfortable. It's always been a way that I could stand behind and feel confident about and still feel like I was representing myself accurately. You shouldn't have to go into character to recruit someone. They should feel like they know who you are on the other side of joining your team.
And that's the biggest key right there. That's why I say, whatever style, however you would want to be approached is how you need to focus. And I see way too many coaches, I see way too many leaders that are like, this is the way. And it's like, I understand the value of duplication, but there's certain aspects that I think that word is overused because we're all unique. And if we try to make each person a specific way, then we've screwed up. And we've confused principles with techniques. The principle is to be the bold version of you. The principle is don't spam on the first message. The principle is don't overdo it where now I know them for 3 years, right? The technique, as far as how, right, is up to you. And you've got to figure that out because that's how you're going to be able to be bolder. That's how you're going to be able to build your business, 10 times faster and take action and become a conqueror.
And this is a way. It's not the way. And at the end of the day, you can look at every recruiting strategy under the sun. They all come down to how many new faces are you getting in front of? Every single one. If you're building rapport with one person to hopefully get a relationship and hopefully get one person on a referral or to recruit that person, then you're limited to that. But if you build rapport with 100, your chances are 100 times higher. And so again, it is a strategy, not the. I don't think there's any one of anything, but take what you like and leave the rest, and just realize that the founding principles go down to how many people am I willing to get in front of? Because as an introvert, I have to make an effort to make it a priority to leave my house and speak to other human beings. And it's not always comfortable, but if you're not willing to get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, get comfortable with where you're at, because that's where you're staying.
100%. Well, Katie, I appreciate you making time. I know we went back and forth 4 or 5 times trying to figure out with
Anytime.
Schedules.
Always make time. Our crazy travel schedules.
You were ready 2 hours early this morning. You're like, wait, which time zone? Eastern time or your time? Which time? Like, so that was fun as we did it, but I'm glad we got to finally make it happen. It was such a pleasure meeting you, and I'm so appreciative of everything that you're doing and making happen. So go give Katie a follow. Go find her on Facebook, Instagram. I follow you on Instagram, but what's your handle on Instagram?
I'm at It's Katie Harbison. So yes, and it's always an honor and a pleasure to spend time with you. So seriously, thank you for asking me to be here, and I look forward to many more opportunities together in the future.